Hey guys, in today's video we'll be going about how to build all-arounders and speedsters in Unite. Again, if you enjoy this kind of content, feel free to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and if you have any questions left out of this video about certain characters, how they're being built and why I'm doing this, feel free to comment. I will always look at them and try to answer them as good as possible. Alright, let's start with the Charizard. So my preferred best moveset is Flamethrower and Flare Blitz. Flamethrower got buffed like a while ago. It gives no move speed after you hitting it, which makes it very good for just outside of your ultimate being able to do things with it. And then Flare Blitz, just a shield, point and click stun, a gap closer, makes it also easier to hit Flamethrower. Personally, this might seem weird to play like a range and a melee ability, but I think in both builds that he has, the other one Fire Punch, Fire Blast, I think it's good to mix up both, to not be stuck in like, oh, I can only play from range or I can only play from melee. Having a good mix-up makes Charizard much more versatile. You can also play Fire Punch, Fire Blast, but I personally prefer Flamethrower. I think it's a very strong level 5 power spike. And the move speed honestly feels very nice at chasing and disengaging if your ultimate is not up. For head items, Muscle Band, Scope Lens, just very, very good damage items. Scale very well with Charizard. And for flex items, you can either go Body Barrier or Focus Band. Body Barrier allows you to be more aggressive with your ultimate. So the way Charizard works is when he's under 50% HP, he does more damage. And if you ult someone under 50% HP, Body Barrier Shield will still make your trait or your passive do this much damage without you losing it. So Body Barrier is very good for him. Otherwise, Focus Band, if you like playing lane Charizard, Focus Band might help you with laning a bit more. But yeah, it's either Body Barrier or Focus Band. For better items, we pretty much should always go eject button. But you can also go X attack. Again, X attack I would only recommend if you're jungling. Eject button always in lane. Otherwise, you're pretty much just a free gank. And you get dope very easily, so X attack can be a thing, but also only in jungle. Very straightforward, you just use it while ultimating. Alright, next we have Garchomp. Currently the best bit is Dragon Rush and Dragon Claw. Very good together, very good combination. So you can use Dragon Claw during your Dragon Rush, which makes it a very good CC ability as well and a lot of damage. The alternative moveset is Earthquake and Dig, which has Void off. Would not recommend going it right now, but it's still something that you can do. For head items, we go Muscle Band and Scope Lens for damage. He has very high auto-attack damage, very good attack speed, so Muscle Band, Scope Lens do get a lot of value. And then for flex items, you either go Body Barrier or Focus Band as well again, depending, do you want to be more teamfighty? While Focus Band is just very good in these scenarios where you don't want to ultimate, you just want to auto-attack, lifesteal, and hopefully not die when you drop under a certain threshold. Or it's very good for laning, if you want to lane. And for better items, I would always recommend going eject button on Garchomp. Next up we have Lucario. In my opinion, the best moveset is still Power Punch and Bone Rush. Just because Power Punch always works. E-Speed is in certain scenarios better than Power Punch, but Power Punch is always good. It works into every team comp, and that just makes it the better move, but Extreme Speed can have higher value, depending on what the enemy team comp is. For head items, I would go Score Sheet and Attack Rate. Let me explain a bit more about the E-Speed thing. So if the enemies have a lot of CC, E-Speed is just very hard to pull off, but you can, for that, look at the better items. There's a full heal. You can try to play full heal in E-Speed and just always run it if you want to play it. That for sure works, but certain team comps you just won't be able to do much. If the enemy team comp is also very squishy and has a lot of damage, then E-Speed you might just die. So Power Punch just allows you to one-shot those squishies that do a lot of damage, much more. But if the enemy's team comp is a bit tankier and team fights last longer, E-Speed is very, very strong. So for head items, Score Sheet, Attack Rate, I would recommend. He's one of the best attack Score Sheet characters there is. Very easy to proc it, very easy to stack it, and just in general also very good split pusher, which makes Score Sheet good. And he also has an inbuilt shield in his passive that allows him to sometimes get insane scores off if it procs during your capping. Flex items, you can either go Muscle Band for more damage, you can go Body Barrier, or you can go Razor Claw also for more damage, but I would only recommend going this in E-Speed and not Power Punch. And yeah, I guess for battle items, in Power Punch always eject button, and in E-Speed you can play full heal. But the problem with full heal is you don't know who you play against, so sometimes the enemies have 0 CC, so you end up having full heal against a no CC team comp. Next up is Machamp. I personally prefer Submission and Cross Chop. I just really like how Submission works. It's very good to escape with, very strong chase ability, point and click CC. Can't really mess it up much. The other alternative is Dynamic Punch and Close Combat, which is also fine. I don't think it's terrible to go that either. I think both builds are very, very straightforward, they do kind of similar things, but I just prefer the mobility that Submission and Cross Chop give a bit more. And for head items, we go Muscle Band and Scope Lens. Again, also he kind of wants to crit. You don't really have to go necessarily Scope Lens if you play the second build, but in the first build you want your Crush Up to crit, so having 6% more crit chance is very needed. Besides Muscle Band, he has very high attack speed, and also just for like clearing things, just very good. For flex items again, Body Barrier, Focus Band, the same stuff as pretty much all the other characters. If you feel like you want to be more aggressive in lane, which, you know, I kinda do, you want Focus Band, otherwise Body Barrier is also fine. And if you play Dynamic Punch and Close Combat, you could also just go Muscle, Body, and Focus in the same build. For better items, you also just play Eject Button. Nothing else is really worth mentioning. Next up is Absol. The best moves in my opinion is Night Slash and Sucker Punch. It got buffed a few patches ago, and since then has been quite solid. The other moveset is Pursuit and Psycho Cut, which I'm not personally not the biggest fan of. You can play it, but I would recommend the other moveset. For 8 items, we have Scope, Razor, and Body Barrier. We just want both crit items, since Absol is all about critting. If you don't crit, you're probably going to lose team fights and 1v1, so you want your abilities to crit as much as possible. So having those 2 items helps for sure a lot. And then Body Barrier just for team fighting. Pressing your ultimate and being able to just run into your opponents with a big shield allows you to get a lot of more damage off. Next up, we have Gengar. Gengar's, in my opinion, the best moveset is the Shadow Ball and Dream Eater. You can also play Sludge Bomb and Hex. I think both are pretty similar in power. It just depends on what you want to do. One is better in team fighting, I would say, which is the second one. And Shadow Ball and Dream Eater is better at catching people off guard and just camping brushes and looking for one-shots on squishy characters. For hate items, since again you want to just look for one-shots, I would recommend Choice Specs. For some survivability, Focus Band, and then for flex items, if you play Dream Eater, you can either go more damage with Wise Glasses, or just the safe option, which is Score Shield. And if you play Slash and Hex Bomb, which is more teamfight oriented, you can go Body Barrier or also Score Shield. Just up to you, whatever you feel like, if you want to be more aggressive or if you want to just look for more scores and split pushing. For better items, we always go Eject Button as well. Talonflame, best moveset in my opinion, Flame Charge and Fly. Very straightforward, very consistent. Fly does a lot of damage, has a lot of mobility. Besides that, Brave Bird and Aerial Ace, the second moveset, is also not terrible. It's very good against squishy backliners that have no escapes, since Brave Bird makes it very easy to hit on them. But then as well, Fly pretty much does the same. A squishy that has no escapes pretty much just dies to it. But Brave Bird Aerial Ace has for sure potential, especially if your team has like some sort of setup where you can just, you know, gain from the side and have a weakly tough or something set you up to make sure your Brave Bird always lands. For hit items, we run Body Barrier and Score Shield. Body Barrier because his ultimate cooldown is one of the lowest, or is the lowest in the game. He has it pretty much every single minute, and just allows him to get a lot of body barriers off, and also allows him to auto-attack after using his ultimate. And then we also run Score Shield. Since he's a very good split push character, he's very hard to kill. You can also use it to recharge your ultimate much faster, since it has such a low cooldown, so you can do small dunks and just make sure you never get interrupted. And again, just very good at split pushing, backcapping, and that Score Shield just buys you 1-2 extra seconds to maybe get a capture off, and it also stops you from getting jumped by the jump pads. And for flex item, you can either go Scope Lens or Razor Claw. I think both are fine. Razor Claw, it's maybe not the best item for Talonflame in general because he has high cooldowns, but he has one of the highest basic attack damage, or he has the highest basic attack damage in the game, which means that Razor Claw does good damage, and the slow is also nice. But if you just want to have consistent crit on your auto attacks, then I would recommend Scope Lens. None of his abilities crit, but he has just so much high attack damage that if you crit once, you just nuke someone to half HP. And then for better items, Eject Button, also the preferred choice. I would recommend it can just be used in doing your fly. And yeah, Eject Button, just Eject Button. And then the last one, Zeraora. Best moveset in my opinion is still Void Switch and Discharge. Very straightforward, very easy, just go in, discharge into 3-4 characters, nuke them out to half HP and go back out to safety. Or Void Switch in, prop ultimate, drop discharge and kill 5 people on your own. The alternative moveset is Spark with Wild Charge. You can also play Spark with Discharge. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it for sure works. But yeah, Spark Wild Charge is more for like split pushing and 1v1ing a lot. Not the biggest fan of it, but it also is not the worst. Like, it can for sure work. For head items, you have Muscle Band and Body Barrier, very standard. Body Barrier, since you kind of want to ult in your opponents, you need to shield and then you just want to keep auto-attacking. Muscle Band, the standard damage item you have. And then for flex items, we have a lot of choices. You can either go Score Shield if you enjoy split pushing much more, or looking for those caps and getting your ultimate faster back up. You can go Focus Band if you maybe play lane Zeraora and you just want to be very aggressive in lane. You can play Energy Amp in Discharge, And Void Switch, which would, I mean, yeah, just ultimating into charge can team wipe enemy characters. So it for sure does work if you want to be a bit more aggressive in team fights. And then if you play Spark Discharge or Spark Wild Charge, you can also go Razor Claw. It's pretty good for that build since you can proc it if you don't spam your Sparks. You can proc it pretty much after every Spark, but still nothing too impressive. I would still recommend going the others, but it's for sure an option. And then for better items, just the eject button. I know I could have probably recommended Fluffy Tails on certain characters in this, but I would just not, in general, not recommend Fluffy Tail too much. Eject button is just, yeah. Eject button is just straight up better. It's a very game-winning item. But yeah, in theory, Talonflame and Zeraora can probably go Fluffy Tail, and I probably could have recommended it, but Eject button is just a game winner. And I mean, you can say Fluffy Tail is also a game winner since you can maybe get Dreadnought or Zapdos easier, but Fly of Talonflame already does enough damage, and yeah. Pretty much. And Zeraora kind of sometimes needs a like I might have been a bit too deep button. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions left, feel free to ask, and see you in the next one. Bye!